Shay, I can't hear you at all. It looked like you were saying something, but I couldn't hear you. I can't hear you.
All right, good night. Good night, folks. It is now 7 o'clock. And we are here for another night of Fatherhood Talks with our panel, who I will let them introduce themselves in a minute. Tonight's topic is Brenda's got a baby. That may spark a lot of interest, knowing that, it seems like at this point we might look like we'd be doing Tupac songs. So I'll let you know what generation of music we come from for our topics. We got a lot of songs. Papa got a Rolling Stone, Dear Mama, Brenda got a baby. But all of those topics really speak to the culture of fatherhood. And tonight we'll probably have a very, maybe not the conversation you thought we was going to have, but we'll have a very fruitful conversation about Brenda having a baby, because I know I got some things on my mind from some stuff that happened over the weekend that I, really touch on this issue. And so again, I want to welcome you all. Remember, if you are watching right now, like, subscribe, share Fatherhood Talks, and let's move. And I'm Ron Osborne Williams, and I'm the father of one child. Panel, let's take it away.
Jim Menard, father of two, recent high school, one 26, 18-year-old. My son just graduated high school, so good things, good things.
Lawrence Jordan, father of two, 27 and one. Actually, today is his birthday. He's 34 today.
Congrats. Brother Johnny Gaspard. I'm in a little red. I don't know what my wife called this color, but it ain't necessarily red or pink to me, but it's coral. That's what it is, coral. We got two, 20 and 23. They're doing well, and I'm grateful to be here with you all tonight.
Hey, good evening. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father of a tribe of 7, and too many ages to announce. So I go ahead and pass it on to the next father.
That's you. That'll be Dr. Doom down in the audience.
That's me. Thank you, Dr. Doom, father of 8 and 1 grandbaby. And actually just had a graduation yesterday, one going into high school and the other going into middle school.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. My pockets thank them as well.
You say your pockets.
Yeah. They done graduated into, graduated into a higher level and much stronger on my pockets now with them too.
That is true.
Let me get this right. You say much stronger on your pockets, less on your pockets.
Oh no, more to the pockets now. More to the pockets. The one is going into high school and now not getting uniforms anymore. So he wants everything fly. And my other little girl, she's just naturally more fashionable now. So
so you're talking about wardrobe and all those
things.
I got you.
Sir.
I got you.
Hey, I feel Dr. Doom, man. I used to love uniforms. You didn't have to worry about going out and shopping too much. It was like get 5 shirts. They're the same every week. You get the same pair of Dickie pants. You're good to go. Now after they took away those uniforms, now you got to buy different shirts, different name brands, and all this other stuff. Yes, it hits your pockets just a little bit different without those uniforms.
Okay.
Although I always take you back to the old school, say back in my day. That's when and Lionel, you might appreciate this because this was in the city. King the Tailor and Miami Pants. You used to go down and have your pants made for $10. You take the material to them and they'll make them like you want them.
You're absolutely
Yeah.
right about that. That
You
was
were
our
way
first,
back.
that was our first taste of what they call independent fashion. When you're breaking away from mom and what mom and them want you to wear.
Way back.
So I'm just taking a few minutes, gentlemen, because I got something to share to start this conversation off with. Oh, well, Rohan, you want to introduce yourself? Welcome back to the panel. I know you probably guess you've been away in Jamaica or something. I don't know what happened to you.
You need to unmute, Rohan. Unmute.
Gentlemen, my apologies. I've been doing mechanic work, all kind of stuff. Just trying to catch up keep these cars on the road, you know? So excuse me if you didn't see me for a while. But I know you guys are having fun, right?
Definitely. So introduce yourself and tell us about how many kids you got.
Hey, you guys seem like you gotta get hazed up a little bit, brother.
Hey, it happens. Okay, name is Rohan Rodok. I have two daughters, divorced dad, co-parenting. Parenting doesn't stop after a divorce. I'll just say that. Keep on parenting.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
Okay, once I'm coming, brothers. Sometimes I gotta
So while Ron works on a technology that he's going to allow us to see,
yeah.
Brenda's Got a Baby is an interesting topic. One of the things that we brought up when we were first getting these titles and topics were how many of them carried a lot from what Tupac sung about or different songs. And this was just one of them that was very interesting because if many of you have seen the video or heard the lyrics of the song, both old and new, it talked about a young lady who unfortunately had been taken advantage of or chose a particular type of life because of her financial situation or how she was being brought up. And as a result, was in the streets, quote unquote, as they say today, and got pregnant at an early age. So much so that she hid the pregnancy from her family and ultimately had the child in the stall of the bathroom and discarded the child. So the song talked about how she made those choices, where she got to that point in her life where she made those choices or that choice. Where was the young man? He didn't even reference the young man. He talked about where she came from and all the things she went through and the unfortunate things that happened to her. So it focused strictly on the young lady. But with Fatherhood Talks, a lot of things that we want to do is bring it back to the father, to the men involved, because unfortunately this world tends to focus, even with the abortion rights thing, they focus strictly on the woman and her body, and we don't talk about the men involved in bringing this child into fruition and their choices. So I think this topic is ideal for us to get into, and I'm praying by now Ron has his video that he wants to show ready to go. But with the head shake, that's a no. So just you guys, what are your thoughts on Brenda's Got a Baby and how the different aspects of it impact the society? Because again, it was predominantly inner city urban type mindset that the video focused on. But I think it hits us across the country, regardless of your financial or economic status.
Well, I think it speaks to the, I want to say the second greatest injustice in this country is not the world, the sexism. And it really talks about that particular video and that song shed light and put a spotlight on the various sexual exploitation of young girls, because this is not a woman, this is actually a teenager. It's an inner city teenager, but a teenager nevertheless. And to be just exposed to that level of trauma, that level of exploitation, that level of predatory I guess I'll say a predatory society as a sense, because it seemed like at both points, and I think she may have been, because I know she got sexually exploited by the boyfriend, but I think beforehand, she may have been sexually exploited inside the home, be it by a mother's boyfriend or something that extent. But you know what? Ron got the video up, so let the video explain itself, and then we'll go back to the conversation.
All right. Hey, all I guess the only thing I can really say is, man, it's a shame that brother had to die, man, before his time, where he really got to the talent that he could have really created. And maybe our industry would be different today. Maybe. Or maybe it'd just be real rich like the other people from that time frame. I don't know.
So true.
But there was so many things put into it, and I think Lionel spoke about this initially. And this is something that, you know, and more, and I'm gonna be 100. I believe in supporting men. I believe in supporting fathers. That is because I can empathize, because I've worked in a society. I believe I work in field that is not man dominant, right? But that doesn't mean because I support men that I don't see the injustice done to women. It doesn't mean that I don't almost advocate for the things that's done. You know, the reality, even as you make a song about Brenda, because if we made a song about Bernard having a baby, this song would be completely different. What happened to him, how it happened, what would be the end result of those things are completely different. So it's so often that we have to really, first as fathers, recognize that, understand that, because a lot of times we take that for granted. We let it kind of play by the wayside and say, oh, we're all in the same struggle. We all facing the same things. And that's not true. Everybody faces a lot of things different. And even in our own community, we're not, you know, sometimes we are the cause of what people are facing. And so it's our job, I guess, again, as fathers, to advocate against that. And that only comes from what we teach our children. Not that we get mad at them or push, but what we discipline our children with, teaching and guiding. Again, I'm going to make it clear, discipline is teaching and guiding. I know people got an idea, but teaching and guiding is what we have to do. But I just wanted to say that because when you watch that video, man, it brought back so many memories. And I think for the majority of us, maybe not Brother Lawrence, you know, who when the whippersnappers who running around with, running around when this song came out, how much power it had, that it was a cool, very cool song with a very important message. And that we kind of lost that today's society. So, but that's why we're here, to give the messages where they need to be given from the fathers. So, gentlemen, have at it.
I want to start with there are so many pieces to this. And, you know, alluding back to what Lightborn was saying with the exploitation, it started within the home with the mother who exploited her just for a check and didn't really care about her as a person, and really, like you said, put discipline into her. She just worried about, you know, what is it that I can get because you exist, rather than what can I put into you because I brought you into this world. And I think that was one of the things that was very powerful with that, because even from the line where the guy says, you know, that's Brenda's parents' problem, and he's like, no, it's a community problem. It stems into moving, even shifting, because if she had outside help, let's just say even within the home, it was a struggle, but she did have a sense of the community backing her up and being able to guide her, some type of guidance outside of the home, I think that would have been a very different story for her. Because we all know that role models don't only come within the home, sometimes they come from outside the home. It's someone reaching out to you and trying to teaching you better and making a difference within your life. And so I think just that part of the story, that message alone speaks volumes. It speaks volumes.
Well, I definitely agree with you, Gene, but even before we get to the mom exploiting her, I think Tupac started it off with the father was on drugs, pushing a needle in his arm in front of Brenda. So that's the beginning of the song. After he talks about them, the community, he goes to the father is on drugs, pushing a needle in his arm. And that's where everything for Brenda goes downhill. And unfortunately, in our community, when they're not fathers in the household, the children are protected. And then if we are the ones that are exposing them to the negative things of society, they become impacted even greater, faster. So she doesn't even get the mom, according to in the video anyway, we don't even get the mom exploiting her for the money until she's pregnant. You know what I'm saying? That's when, like he said, you don't care as long as when the money comes, they get first dibs, AKA the food stamp. So whatever the government assistance that Brenda is now going to be getting because she has this child in this circle of, generational poverty that she's now about to add to this mix up. So I think the father's role right there changes the dynamics of Brenda's future, because dad isn't there to protect her from the world that then leads her to be seeking fatherly guidance and ends up with this older cousin, where I totally forgot it was the cousin, and then she was only 12 when she first gets pregnant. So that turned us up. I thought she was 16. At least I could charge it to the game somehow, but she's 12. She's not even a teenager yet. So you understand the dynamics of how the father not being available or present to help her, protect her, led to Brenda being and ultimately having to go through what she did and losing her life at a young age.
Yeah, which I don't disagree with. I agree with everything that you're saying. I was just alluding back to the exploitation piece and how that was happening into the home. But I agree, because a father plays a very important role that a lot of people just don't understand. Protector, not just provider, but that he's a form of security and a huge sense of knowledge that comes along with him because of the fact that he's male, period. And he, there's an understanding of how other males think, and you'll be able to view that and see that based on, even when it comes down to, let's bring it to, the household and your daughter, let's say your daughter brings in a guy, you're going to peep him out and be like, yeah, no, he's not good for you. And I'm gonna tell you why he's not good for you. You see what I'm saying? And so it's just that level of protection where in relationships that also exists when it comes to that father being there and that father being a stable person within that life. Because being there is one thing, because he was shooting up, the dad was shooting up in front of her. So he was exposing her to that negative life. And so, it's not just being there, it's being a positive piece into the child's life.
Well, let me put a little other spin on this, just in reference to you guys are talking about, because a lot of people will discount, say, well, I ain't taking drugs, so I'm good. My father is good. But I want people to remind themselves, just because you don't do the things that is considered the ills or the vices, doesn't say that, oh, I'm good. I'm a good father. I'm the great father. Because there's a little bit more to go with that. Because some fathers are so busy and they out of the house so much that their boy's still coming in your house.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff is coming in your house and going out of your house. All kinds of things, because you're not there to even guide your house. Now you might be providing good. Matter of fact, the more you provide, the more access your young people may have to stuff that they normally wouldn't have without your guidance. So I know a lot of fathers will take, oh, well, I ain't use drugs, I'm this and that. But the question is not what you didn't do. It's about what you are doing. That's the most important. What are you doing? Do you know any of the children's names? Do you know what they would like to do in life? Because I know many people who have this big issue. When I was a mentor for kids, that their parents want them to do things that they're not interested in. They have no passion for it. They have no desire, but the parents have not even talked to them to even care. You doing this. You're going to go and become a lawyer. I don't want to be a lawyer. I want to be a graphic designer. No, you're going to be a lawyer. You know, again, think about what that does to a child. You know, we have a saying in 24/7, Dad, honor what your child wants. That don't mean they got to get it, but honor it.
I hear you.
Honor it so they at least feel the confidence beyond what they're doing. But also when you listen, it might make better sense to say, maybe you should become a graphic designer because you probably ain't seen the income on that yet, and the time frame versus the income versus the time that you have to work and how much you have to work, you know, compared to being a lawyer, you know, depending on what kind of lawyer you had to be, you know, sometimes I got to chase taxi cabs and ambulances. Sometimes you got to hustle and bustle to try to get partner, and that take doing very scrupulous, unethical things to become a partner that somebody may not want to do, you know. And then if you're going to work for the people, you know, kind of a community lawyer, community ain't got no money, so
you struggling financially.
You ain't gonna be getting paid. So you'll be a lawyer, but you ain't gonna get paid. So we got to look at what, you know, our kids, you know, honor them in any point. But this, I only brought that up because I know people will say, oh, dads who are absent, dads who are on drugs, dads who are this. I'm not that, so I'm good. Yeah. And we always can be better.
Amen.
You know, I like to add, you know, if you look at that video, there's things that you see. You see the needle, you see the surrounding, you see the frustration in the young lady's face with a baby that she doesn't know what to do or how to handle the situation. But let's look at the things you don't see. Let's look at stress. Some people live in a world where stress is 100%, 24/7 in their life. So we look at coping mechanism, drugs, daughter turning a prostitute. These things are happening right now as we speak. There are websites right now, I can go on my phone and you can get a female to drive by for like $20. These things are happening as we speak. It's not only happening in that video with Tupac. It's happening right now. Now, let's go deep. We talk about people. We talk about fantasies, people who fantasize of a lifestyle and who are not willing to do the work. We talk about slackers. We talk about the 9 to 5. What we see there's different cultures. Some folks will say, well, that group of people do those kind of things. And some folks will say, you know, no, this group of people don't do it, but they don't really know. So some folks shoot up, go to work, some folks shoot up and they can't get out of the bed. Yeah. But if we were to look deep, we're looking at financial insecurity. We're looking at maybe diabetes, high blood pressure. We're looking at food insecurity. We're looking at so many things that can affect that family to unfortunately end up in the way things have ended up in that video. So, gentlemen, let's keep it real here. That is happening right now as we speak. And we, as advocates for children, we have to intervene wherever we can and steer persons, families to get help, because this is very serious. If you look around in the society today, I see anger. When I'm driving, I see it on the news, I see anger, and most of that anger comes from stress. So I think what we as fathers out there, we make that phone call. What word we should use? Intervene. Let's make a change. Whether you're the lawyer, whether you're the guy who parks the truck at Walmart, we gotta make a change.
All right. Go ahead, Lightburn. I see you itching.
No. After watching the video, it just brought back to my memory as well. I seen 3 types of men in that video, 3 types of unjust men in that video. Maybe even go as far as to say 3 types of cowards in that video. When you're talking about, I saw the implicit man. That's the guy who said that's a family problem, after it's been brought to his attention, because he don't really either have the courage or the wherewithal or just simply the care to even notice a situation. And you can't solve something or engage something you're not really willing to even acknowledge. he don't even have the brain space to even acknowledge it. It's wrong, and he knows it's going wrong, but he lived better just simply not knowing and turning a blind eye. And you got the complicit man. The complicit man is like the father who was high, you know, and because he's high and he's not even in his right mind, it allowed the cousin to go in and molest the kid because he's so entrenched in his addiction that he's not even well enough to notice the affliction of his own daughter at 12 years old. And then you got the explicit man. Now, these are the guys in the video that just went really unnoticed because these guys can be any of us at any time. And these are the guys that was tricking with the 12-year-old. And then if you can hide it enough, it doesn't really count if nobody really saw it, you know? And so she's making money, tricking, trying to take care of the baby and herself, and we're not even acknowledging the guy. And these can be, guess what? Everyday working guys, some of the well-to-do guys. You don't have a Jay-Z. And you got to understand how you get so many brilliant bastards in the ghetto, right? All these guys who were just, these children just drive-bys, right? I'm talking about these drive-by sexual encounters because unfortunately, a lot of our mothers and even our grandmothers at some point had to negotiate those Brenda circumstances to pay bills when our fathers dropped the ball or our grandfathers dropped the ball. And so Brenda's situation, only difference between Brenda's situation and our mother's or our grandmother's situation is our grandmothers may have had, and back to Rohan's point, the support base to support them enough. You understand? It may have not got to that level. But when you don't have the support base and you're being raised by a broken man, and a broken man can't lead a woman, so that man is broken, and she's been followed by a broken woman who's raising broken children. You understand? So it's almost like she's doomed from conception, in which I truly believe oppression starts at conception. You understand? And until we really acknowledge all the isms or the schisms that actually attribute to these injustices, you understand? It'll always be entertainment and never empowerment.
You know,
I'm gonna use that line right there. Thank you.
I think that you make a good point, Lionel, because I think another issue that, and I looked at this recently. I just got finished watching. It's not a plug, but all the seasons of The Chi. And there's a character in there. His name is Emmett. Yeah. Not Emmett Till, but Emmett something else. And what is it's interesting that his name is Emmett because he's a father of 3 kids. Emmett's age is 8. I think Emmett is 18.
Yeah.
18. He might be 18 or 19. But he already got 2 kids walking and one that is in the stroller.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting in this dynamics of watching his transition. But I thought about this. The mothers had got together at one point, was giving him a hard way to go. And they were sharing with him how while he's out buying Jordans and buying all his fancy sneakers, you know, they're working double jobs and doing these things to maintain not only their life, but their child's life. And what was he doing? And, you know, the great part about it is that, you know, he matured. I'm gonna say that he matured because that's probably the biggest problem. He had sex too early to be mature, but he matured in this process. When he gave up he sold one day, he set them all down. 400 for you, 400 for you, 400 for you. And he said, I'm going to try to keep this up. And the girl said, oh, where you get this money from? And he put his shoe up on the thing, had on some flip-flops. He said, I sold my shoes. Now, when the girl called him out and said, you didn't sell all your shoes. Now, we know you. But the idea of realizing what was more important and how important it was to become this father who did more than just talk to the kids on FaceTime and spend time with them when he had to, is to really overall, and a part of that was him working on himself to get himself. He didn't graduate high school. He was out here hustling, peddling shoes back and forth. Like he'd get shoes but that wasn't enough to take care of himself because he's still staying in his mama's house.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
And he learned his mom kicked him out. You know, he had to figure out how to do these things on his own. And I know that this is one of our issues that we have. We have so many young people when we start looking at where they're getting the guidance and realize the guidance wasn't given to them because the person who is now a grandmother was a teen just like them. So everybody trying to make a catch up. We're trying to catch up. And a lot of times you hear people saying, oh, I can't wait to get my life back. Well, by the time we get there, our life is, you know, you're 40, you get, okay, you know, if I become a 50, you know, I guess for me, I use myself as example. If I was to had a kid in 1993 or something, they would be like, you know, 92, something, maybe 28, 29. They would already have kids, already be get ready to turn to a 50-year-old grandfather. You know, a different mindset than I am now. And all what kind of mistakes I would have made then as a guy, the knowledge that I could tell my child about things would be different too. True. Because a lot of stuff I wouldn't have experienced. I would experience it another way, you know, and I wouldn't be able to, you know, so we have to remember that this is a big factor in our society that we have and it's not a different because in the older days, you had women having children that young, but they wasn't having them by themselves. Correct. They was having their children with a husband who made the decision to take care of them. Correct. Even when I was looking for pictures for today, it was a thing talking about teen parents. And the amazing thing that shocked me, this was a BBC article, the teen parents that they showed, these girls was young, but you know who was standing by them? The dads. These dads. So I said, this girl 15, he 19, but they taking a picture together with the child. Yo, this girl is 17. The guy is 21. They're taking a picture. So you begin to say, and they gave you the details of the way they was living, how they was living, and you begin to see not only did the fathers wasn't there, they also had family units because none of these kids was trying to struggle on their own. They were staying in the family, with the family, being raised by the community, by the family, by the village. We're throwing all that shit out the window here. We got to get back to that mindset that if a young lady, first young man, strap up. I just listened to a call young guy got out of, this young man I know got out of a situation, getting a girl pregnant he didn't want to be with. She just moved out this house. She just moved out. Something happened, and I don't remember the full details of what happened. That baby didn't come. You know this goddamn boy got another girl pregnant already. Listen, what kind of foolishness? You didn't learn anything from the first thing. You didn't even want to learn. People telling you, trying to help you in that situation, and it didn't even matter because as soon as you got free, the next chick you got her knocked up, and now you complaining and crying, saying, asking her to now go see the Supreme Court. Now you want to go see the Supreme Court? You should have went down and seen Dorex. That's what you should have seen, Dorex. It's ridiculous. We have to own this, guys. We have to own this. We do some asinine ass things and then want somebody to feel sorry for us.
But Ron, I have to counteract real quick. Most sexual age, the sexual age is between 16 and 24. That's when most people are on the go. Let's just use a better term. Now, if the father and the mother is not getting the training about sex, or it is not being discussed in the home, it's being discussed on social media with the friend at school, with the neighbor. These are when these things happen. So you gotta look at it in that way too. As human beings, there are certain times when we unfortunately procreate. And we do all these craziness, so to speak. But most of these young people are not trained, man. The guidance counselor is not in school anymore. A lot of things are not there to help these kids.
You know, Rohan, but by you saying that, and it makes it seem as if it wasn't happening when we did have guidance counselors in the school. It happened when it still happened back in the day. You know what I'm saying? This is the path is not anything new. The carelessness is getting worse. these kids nowadays are less empathetic to what the mothers go through when they're, for lack of a better word, when they're stuck with this child, because now they have to do it all on their own. Whereas if you stepped up and you took even you did a quarter of the work that needed to be done, it would alleviate a lot of stress on these moms. And so where Ron is coming from is the fact that this one gentleman, he just got out of a circumstance and put himself right back in the same issue. And it's like, at what point is it where we say, dude, stop being an idiot, learn your lesson, so that they can stop putting themselves inside the same predicaments?
Well, unfortunately, some people only learn when their hand get burned. They ain't understand the fire hot when you tell them, you know, and they have to go through the experience themselves. That's just unfortunately the truth, that some people have to go through the experience themselves for them to actually mature to the point where they understand that the choices they're making aren't the best choices. Like in that show Ron is talking about. I used to watch that show religiously, and Emmett made the same silly choices, but then Ron, you didn't mention, they eventually showed who his dad was.
Listen, I was saving that. I was saving that for later.
Okay.
But go ahead with it. Go ahead.
And his dad was just as ignorant, unfortunately.
Worse. He was worse.
Actually. And Emmett, so his dad showed Emmett all the wrong things to do. So Emmett simply followed what dad did. He slept around, had children with a bunch of different women, and it was the same behavior as his father's choices. So it wasn't until, as Ron mentioned, those young ladies sat down and were like, dude, what are you doing? And then his mom had to really sit him down and advise him and guide him, that he, decided to make, because he didn't want to be like his father, because he saw what the father and his choices did to the mom. You see what happened there? He saw how his mom had to struggle because of the choices his father made, and decided, you know what? I'm not going to have these ladies go through what my mom did. So I'm going to make some different choices.
And that's where the Johnny steps in.
But Johnny, I want to point this out, and that you brought it up, and it goes back to what was so important. And I would say to mothers, don't be scared to send these kids to these dads, no matter what happens. Just send their ass to them. Send their ass to the dad. And I say that because don't wait till he wanted to stay with the dad when his mom kicked him out. He already grown. Yeah. He might have not even had any of those kids if he had to go over his dad's house earlier and be there with the other 5 and 6. They all sit. Listen, this dad got the whole family sit down eating. It's 3 tables, kid tables. All the baby mamas is sitting at the table. The new dad to the new. Listen, this man had a
He had the blended family all day. Day.
But when you really evaluate it, if he would have went there earlier,
correct.
But he wasn't involved with his dad. And it's the other part we failed to. We got to get these. We got to get these, and not only for him, but the dad. See, this is the other part I think about. This is important. The dad started to take on some accountability and responsibility to guide his son, because he knew his son was really messing up. Correct. He didn't want his son to be like him, and his son didn't have to be like him, because dad said many times, I didn't know any better.
There you go. That's it.
And I just kept on doing it. And every time you seen the dad, he was sitting down working on the bills. Every time he was thinking of a way how he gonna pay these bills and where the money and all the stuff. And he was being a real dad. And at some point, this is a key point that's so important. There was a scene where the dad was with the son, one of the other sons, and he rubbed him on the head, and the boy got mad.
His older son, Emmett,
got mad because the first thing he thought about is, what was mine at? Yeah. You here playing daddy now with these kids when I was struggling and me and my mom was suffering. Yeah, this is one of these. This is a really an outcome of Brenda type of thing, having babies. People having babies so young, and then not really people wrapping their arms around them. I continue to say this, and I say this, that we have not did what we had to do as a community when our kids have their children young. We have not did it. We do a little bit for the girl because we think it's important. We gotta, but we don't do the same thing for the boy. If we wrap our arms around them, guess what? They got to get squeezed in closer together. I want you to visualize that. You got, they just had a baby. They looking at each other, and what we do is we just wrap our arms around the girl and leave the boy out there in the cold. We need to wrap around both of them as tight as possible and get them to, if they're not gonna be together, at least learn how to work together for the benefit of that, for that grandchild we're gonna have, that grand niece or grand nephew that we're about to have.
But you know, in wrapping with your analogy there, now we tend to distance the father and his role, because once we wrap that girl, we just tell him, wear the diapers, where's this, where's that. We don't say, where's the love, where's the emotion, where's your input into caring for this child. We just start looking for the tangible things from them. You see what I'm saying? And so we have to stop doing that also. We have to start saying, yo, what's your stake in this? Bring yourself up in here and you wrap your arms around this baby. You start holding this baby. You burp this baby, change this baby, feed this baby. And start being a father.
Hey, how about wrap your arms around the mama? Even though you don't want to be with her, you can wrap, because that's another thing. Listen, your boy was in that same thing. His girl had a baby. His last girlfriend had a baby. And he could support, he had the empathy and the compassion and the sympathy and the love to support her when she had a baby. And he wasn't going to be back with her, but they were still friends. He didn't have the same.
That's an important piece you just said. The relationship was probably different.
Yeah.
And so what you have to do is start working on being friends before you start being lovers. That's a nod to that song. We were friends before lovers. You know what I'm saying? You have to start being friends before you can become lovers. That's it. Yeah. Lightborn, you're trying to say something. Hold on, Lightborn's trying to say something.
Yeah, Lightborn.
No, I was thinking about this because it brought me back to something that happened with LL Cool J, and the fact that now we in the therapeutic what do you call it? The therapeutic time frame right now. It's the therapeutic genre that's going on, and sometimes half the time it sounds like they don't have a clue. But even nevertheless, you would think I wasn't in the field, but I'm from a social work standpoint, so some of these curriculums trip me out. But nevertheless, I remember LL had got into some type of infidelity about his wife or something like that, some kind of infidelity issue that played out publicly. I remember LL saying these words specifically. He said, I'm a sex addict, and everybody just laughed him off. Laughed him off. And I remember another young man saying the same thing in the public eye, and they laughed him off. See, I'm saying that to say this. When we understand that a sexual addiction is more powerful than a crack addiction, then we'll be more intentional about really administering treatment and awareness, intervention and engagement to our boys. But what we do is we give them condoms to protect the addiction and never knowing what the addiction can fully grow into. Now, I remember, and I'm just going to give you a really terrible example of what that sexual addiction can grow into. That sexual addiction can grow into, I think he's the great example. I think they even got him on the books because they did a study on it. Jeffrey Dahmer. And they asked Jeffrey Dahmer, what do you think will be the root cause of why you did what you did? You know what he said? Pornography.
Yeah, pornography. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And so I don't even think we have even scratched the surface of what it is to have a real mental health curriculum for boys in general. Because remember what I told you, with that male privilege, what does that interfere with? How many dollars if you say, okay, you know what? A sexual addiction is real. We saying every addiction is real but a sexual addiction, because a sexual addiction really benefits men more than it do anybody else. And so we're sitting around here talking more about the Band-Aids, you understand, as opposed to the very thing that can aid our boys and make this a better society than it really is.
Lana, you listen, you hitting all the, because the other part of this that's so important when we talk about addiction is your ability to be more acceptable to the addiction. And what we forget biologically, a woman is more sexually active, more aroused, and more stimulated for sex during her ovulation.
Yeah, correct.
Right? Guess when men ovulate? Guess when young boys ovulate? Every goddamn day. The ovulation dose, even the 80-year-old man, he's still ovulating every day. And so we have to be educated on this to understand that when you're right, Lana, what we do is we use it to our advantage. I was explaining that same ovulation issue to somebody. They would say, "Oh, you're trying to make an excuse for what?" No, it's not an excuse what I'm saying. We just got to understand, and we'll understand that there's a likelihood that not just us as human mammals, but when you look at the rest of the mammal kingdom,
right,
they will jump on anything, and the male will jump on anything at any time. But the female will not always let you jump on them because they're not interested until their time. So we have to, but we too dignified to be close to animals anymore. We're not even in the same species of mammals anymore. Don't compare me to an animal. And we're not saying you're an animal, but our biological and our sexual makeup is similar to them. We know it is. Now we got morals and ethics and things. We don't know what the animals got. I'm just we don't know what the animals got because we're not the animals. We always saying that we're the most intelligent beings, and we may be, but if we're the most intelligent, we're also the most stupidest.
Let me ask you this question, Ron, and this is a question to all you brothers here. How many of y'all had a parent that talked to you about sex?
None.
Well, Rohan, you can only
besides
talk for
saying
yourself.
don't do it.
You can only talk for yourself.
I can talk. I'm talking for myself.
Okay, you said none of us.
No,
I'm just saying, how many of y'all had a parent that spoke to you about sex and the repercussions thereof, and using a condom at a young age? I'm talking about when you were a teenager. Now, Ron, you say yes, you?
Yeah, well, I knew about sex from the beginning based on who my daddy was.
Okay, gotcha.
That early because I didn't live with my daddy, nor did my older sister live with her. We found out early, and then look at us. We both had our kids. Late. I guess we both had that complex of not being like our daddy or our mamas. And so we didn't have kids until we was well in after 35 at least.
Gotcha.
So my sister, she did the old fashioned way. She had kids till she was married with her husband.
Yeah.
So, that's one of those things. But then also that was the initial, but what even more taught me is that my mom later was a medical tech who worked at the health department.
Gotcha.
And I, as a middle school, early junior high, I would have to catch the bus from the school to her job and sit in the lobby of the health department, watching people come in, get their gonorrhea cured.
Hold on. What they had?
Gonorrhea.
Oh, yeah.
Syphilis, chlamydia.
I think he meant gonorrhea, but
he meant gonorrhea. You know what he meant.
Listen. When we were sitting there, I was sitting there, and so I got an early. Listen, I had condoms, plenty of them, walk around with them, but I ain't had no prospects even getting no chicks yet. But I knew that that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
I got my condoms ready because I ain't about to do that.
So I'll go ahead.
For me, my parents were like, they didn't discuss it, but they signed me up for every sex education class that came up in school. They were like, yeah, you taking it. And like for us growing up in school, that's what you learned. You learned through science class, and then they showed you, like Ron was saying, they showed you the pictures of people who had syphilis, gonorrhea, and all this other stuff, and they started talking about in the 80s with the AIDS epidemic coming through strong. So there was a lot of deterrence for you not to do it. and they were like very strong and adamant about what's going on.
Yeah,
So
I'm much like Rob. My mom was in the medical field as a EMT, so she constantly, she had all of us are boys until she finally had my sister, the last one. So she was on us all the time. And ain't none of y'all bringing no. Listen, I'm telling y'all, don't bring no baby up in my house. I'm telling y'all now. So she constantly stayed on us about being protected, being safe, using a lot of medical terms for us so we could understand the choices and things of that. But I'm talking about, she never ever really had that sex conversation. So let me tell y'all, I had this conversation with my daughter when she was 12, because she came home they were talking about humping in class. So I said, well, let's have this conversation. Because they know, she said, Dad, can you get pregnant from humping? So I was like, nope, you can't, but let me have some conversation. So her mama, my former wife at this time, sitting there, and she's sitting there with her mouth open, and she's a nurse. And I'm having this conversation with my daughter, explaining how sex feels good and all these things. And, you know, it's something that your hormones are gonna tell you all of these things. And this is but everything that feels good to you and looks good to you ain't necessarily good for you. So as I spoke about that, and I talked to her about being spiritually ready and mentally ready, and your body, you get mad because you see the boy you were talking to, you ain't in a relationship, you saw him, you talking to him, you saw him hold hands with another girl at the lunch period, and you want to cry your whole face off. Imagine giving your body to him, and then he walks away and he's with another girl somewhere else. Imagine what that would feel like. So we had a different conversation than my parents had with me, even with my mom being in the medical field. And that's one generation. LJ, I wanted to ask you, did your parents talk to you about sex?
No. You know, all they would say is, don't get no girls pregnant. Now,
That's it.
That was basically it, you know.
That's it.
You say, but I did want to say something real quick. What I kind of got out of the video and everything. I see like 8 people on this call, and I would venture to say that if I took a survey, that probably all 8 of us grew up in a dysfunctional home. It's just the level of dysfunction that took place in the home. Others were more or less than others, you know. And what I took from the father that was shooting the dope in front of his daughter, that could actually take 2 different forms. Of course, it was one of the worst things you could ever do. But I remember some fathers who had the worst habits in the world, but they were so protective of their family. You knew you better not mess with their daughters. Otherwise, he will come and beat you up. He didn't care who you were.
Gotcha.
So
he was a functioning drug head.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So my point being is that most of us have taken stuff from our upbringing, some good stuff and some things we know to do that we got, and we knew from the parents some things not to do. See, I'm definitely not going to do that. So, but it was some of those functions, that those good things like protection and providing and those things we take from them, but then we try to drop the other things. So I see that it was a terrible thing for him to do the drugs, but it was worse that he didn't protect his family. You know, I was reminded of one guy that, and like I said, he was probably the biggest drunk in our neighborhood. But you could not, they say you better not mess with his daughters. You better leave them alone. You know, so I'll leave that there.
I hear that. No, I just wanted to ask that question because that's one of the biggest things that happens in our community, that we don't, at least today I know, and many times we don't have the conversation with our children. We don't have it with our boys, we don't have it with our girls, and we let society raise them, whether it be social media or their friends. And again, it's the blind leading the blind. So if you're gonna have the blind leading the blind, they're gonna end up going over the same, cliff together. So my goal is always, and I think as we are fathers here today, more mature, more experienced in what we've gone through, our goal is now to tell our children, as they have children, how to speak to your grandchildren or your children as they're getting older, so that they don't make the same mistakes. And again, we could all sit here and look at our children and say they did the right thing, they've made smart choices, but it's important for us to continue to share what we've learned so that that aspect of teaching our children could continue to go on. Because if we don't do it with them and remind them to do it with their children, it ends up coming back to the same circle when nobody's talking to you. And we're dealing with these situations because there's no conversation, whether it be in a single family, a single parent home, or with a double parent home.
Well,
I'm sorry. I want to jump in and just offer a narrative change to LJ. I don't think our families was dysfunctional. As a matter of fact, I would never use that word for particularly a Black family as dysfunctional. I think we were disenfranchised. So I think let's use the word disenfranchised, but never dysfunctional. I don't even want anybody, it's a trigger for me to have anybody attributing dysfunction to Black families. I'm like, nah, not in America at least.
So okay, hold on. So I get you, Lightbird, definitely.
Right.
But you're saying the disenfranchisement of the Black man has unfortunately forced him into choices or failed to make choices because he had to make other choices, which led him to not make this. If you get what I'm saying to you, is that what you're saying? So that's why you don't use the term dysfunction?
No, I use, well, somewhat, but I'm saying this, I'm like, this is disenfranchisement. So disenfranchising circumstances begets disenfranchised choices.
Got it.
And so with that, I mean, when we're talking about the conversation, I think for the most part, and because of that disenfranchisement, I think when it came to the sex talk, especially in Black families, we got more warnings than wisdom.
There you go.
And the reason I say we got more warnings than wisdom is because it seems like we always get more warnings than wisdom. We got to have the talk with our Black children. So look at the history of, we talking about 2022 and we're talking about the talk with Black children. So how can you ever have that real talk of what sex should really be if you're up against more consequences for having sex? You understand? Than real cultivation or the things that comes along with it. Wow. And so we don't never see sex as procreating and creating communities. We always see it as some type of warning. And this is what actually attribute to the mass exit, because if you're teaching sex as a warning, everything that comes from sex becomes a warning. So now you're getting it as a warning. So now you're getting every circumstance you get into is like a consequence. Having children is another consequence. Oh, child support. So look at all the consequences that we're psychologically up against. This is what I'm talking about. It speaks to the disenfranchisement as a society. You know, you rarely, you just starting to see Black parents welcoming children in the world like we love them, even though in the franchisement, we always love them. You understand? But we still have to fight this fight. It's like you're trying to, like, I seen a painting of a Black woman. She's breastfeeding the child while she having a sword trying to fight against society. One of the most powerful things I ever saw. But that's the reality when it comes, particularly for a Black family or any family of color that's on that particular injustice totem pole.
I got you. Okay.
I think I understand where Lightborn is coming from, but I think it's two different things when you talk about a family's dysfunction versus a family's disenfranchisement. If I said that right.
Yes.
Because I understand where Larry's coming from, because every family has their own level of dysfunctionalism. Like we can see a family that mom, dad's in the home and everything, and we're like, yeah, but it's still not the best family, but at least they're doing what they can. And I think that's what he's talking about, the dysfunctionalism. But I think I agree with you on the disenfranchisement, because a lot of the issues that the Black community faces is based on being oppressed. It's based on a lot of the racism that goes on. And so it does come out as warnings, like Lightborn is saying, because, you know, let's be honest, a white person having a kid at a young age is a lot different than a Black person having a kid at a young age. The stressors are going to be different. The community is going to be different for them, and how and access Just talk about the access alone into the proper channels
Gotcha.
is even a hurdle when it comes to the Black family.
Hey, let me get, can you give I know, Gene, you're saying that, but can you give and you have the experience because based on your work, when you look at healthy families working, what's the estimate of the demographic of the mothers that you come in contact with?
What you mean within the program itself?
When you look at a program like that, let's say a program like that, what's the ratio of the demographics of by race that usually
by race, man? You have a majority of African American families, and I'm going to tell you why it is, though. I'm going to tell you why it is.
Yes,
because the target zip codes are set for the African American communities. Because those are what they call the empowerment zones in I don't know if they still call them empowerment zones in Broward, but those are what the empowerment zones are. And then they have the high incidences of calls for abuse and neglect. And so those are the areas that they're going to target. Now we do have our, Coral Springs 33065, Pompano area and stuff like that. But you'll find a majority of zip codes fall into Black neighborhoods, 33311, 33313, 33312. So, you have those zip codes. And once you hit it, those areas are going to be like, okay, yeah, this is within the Black neighborhoods. This is within the Black community. This is within
you ain't seeing that in Western
demographics.
We ain't going to Western for that.
Yeah, you're not going to Western.
Gotcha.
You're not. Western is out of zip. That's what they would consider that. That you're going way too far.
Let me show you. And what I say about
go ahead, go ahead. I want you to eat that.
Let me show you what I'm talking about. Because and this is what kinds of piss me off. Mm-hmm. Because I can give examples of it. When you're talking about the same quote unquote, just for the lack of a better term, dysfunction, right? And so here it is. You put a white teenager in a Black circumstance. So you make a white teenager pregnant, and you got a hit television series, Teen Mom. That's number one. You get a white clearly dysfunctional white family, and you get Honey Boo Boo. Mm-hmm. You understand? And it's been well known. I'm like, listen, they said that there's been some molestation going on, and nobody said nothing. It's still a hit television show. So here it is, the same Black disparities that Black families are facing every day. We just get hits. But you put those same disparities on a white family, they get hit television shows. Something is fundamentally wrong with that. And that's one of the things that we're going to have to talk about.
Yeah. Lonnie, and I'm glad that you said that, because this is why I asked Gene that question, because I begin to think about, what happens. And I think you said something so powerful when you said it's not so much dysfunction. We can be dysfunctional, but we don't take that first. Let's take the disenfranchised first. We got to be disenfranchised, because when you're looking at how I'm using that Healthy Families program, how it operates. I remember working at Hollandale Adele when it was the teen school for teen parents, right? And the majority of the girls that was there were Black. And a couple Hispanics. We had no little white. So you tell me, and there were no little white girls.
Oh, pregnant.
Getting teen pregnancies.
Oh, I'm sure they were, but their mama wasn't spilling them to no teen pregnant school. They was going to some.
But this is what I want to go to, the psychological effect of that, because what happens is that then tells you that we the only people that happens to. We the only people doing that, when that's not the truth.
Got it.
Right. I argued this for so many years when they would tell you the HIV rates and they'll tell you the statistics of the HIV rates. The highest is in the Black community. And I say, but where y'all getting the results from? Where you getting the statistics from? From the poor free clinic that they doing the HIV testing from. Y'all ain't going to the private doctors that the people who got HIV, because y'all ain't getting their records. And they ain't ready to go in no statistics.
That's a
And do
HIPAA
you make us
violation.
think that we are the ill of the society?
Got it.
And if it, and again, only person who will argue that is strong fathers. I'm gonna come back to it. A strong father will argue that that's not the truth for all us. That's not our truth. That's not our truth. That's not who we are. And some people don't like it, but that's not us. Just
Right.
because somebody tell you that you something, don't make you it. You got to
What
just start believing it to be it.
Amen.
What happens is you got to look at also where they, like you said, the statistics are where they get it from. You're getting it from health departments. So who frequents the health department more?
Exactly.
You have people with no insurance frequenting the health department, which is largely the minority population, African American, Hispanics, or what have you. So you're going to get those numbers in droves, right? Like you said, but you're not going to go to the private doctor's office and say, "Hey, yo, turn over your records because we need to count." Now, supposedly all medicals, sexually transmitted, I should say, because of the way they're supposed to what do you call that? So let's just say a person has gonorrhea or whatever. We're supposed to trace everyone you've been with so we can give them a call, right? So that because of the tracing that's supposed to happen, all these are supposed to be turned into the health department. But I very seriously doubt all the information is being turned into the health department from these private doctors, like you said, because who's going to go and police every single private clinic in a wealthy neighborhood?
And what's one of those people are going to have the health department come to their house? They will not be going to that doctor ever again. They'll tell all their friends not to go to that doctor again.
Yeah. So you get it. They get the numbers from where they can get it from, which is the health department, which larges who uses it. Like I said, uninsured, those who those are the minority set.
As a result of disenfranchisement.
Again, creating this idea of taking our Brendas and making them the root of all evil in the society.
I hear that.
With their mechanism. Now, our Brenda is no different from the Susan. 98% of the time, they became pregnant the same way by the same dysfunction, but without the disenfranchised. See, this is where I have to start. I don't like to become like a preacher, but we got the same dysfunction. But Susan didn't have no disenfranchised because she had everything. So what she did was not out of necessity. She did out of wanting to do it. Yeah. Not to say that that Brenda didn't want to do it, but Brenda was looking for something that she didn't have a lot of times.
Correct. Right.
Daddy wasn't there. Mama didn't have time to give. And so here come Jerome smiling, telling her she's beautiful. She the best thing kicking. He wanted to spend all the time with her. And then he dropped that load in her. You know, that's different from, and then Jerome so
pity. That was very rash. He dropped that.
But that's how. Listen, it's rash, but it's real, brother.
I agree.
You go in the neighborhood, and when you meet with the people, and Gene will tell you that three of the kids that you're working with, they daddy all stay in the same. The ladies all stay in the same complex. Yeah. And the dad stay there with his new girlfriend and her kids.
Yeah.
And it's not, and that again, it's still family.
That's another topic. Family. That's another topic in itself that I'm gonna send you that topic right now, because I was just talking to somebody about that weekend about that particular topic, and it's amazing you just brought it up. So once I can frame it right, I'm gonna send it to you.
Yeah, and so that we definitely can look at. We definitely can look at and begin to evaluate those different types of fathers that are in those type of situations and have Brendas.
Yeah.
Their daughters are Brendas. And the question is, fathers, what do you do when your daughters are Brenda?
Woo!
That's deep.
Well, for me, fortunately, you're this is a hypothetical. Hallelujah. And I'm a abide the devil and all the evil that comes along that with that statement you just said, Rob. But I get you. If your daughter is a Brenda, the mature person that I am today, continues to support her, because I understand not supporting her ends up doing a dysfunction to that child she's carrying. And prayerfully, this young man, whoever he may be, and I'm praying he's a young man and not an older predator, but if he's a young man, I am seeking to reach out to whoever his family members are to try to get them involved or get him involved in being a father, because I understand the role that is necessary for him to play. That's if you have a Brenda, because the mature me understands that today. You give me maybe 10, 15 years ago, I might beat her over the head and with words of constant disappointment. I can't believe this, over and over again, because I'm just this distraught that she has impacted her life and the trajectory of the choices of what my plan for her, my expectation of her, the things that I wanted for my daughter to have. And she's now, unfortunately, changed the trajectory of that to make it a little bit more difficult on her life. So I may be upset and angry for a longer period of time and not fully understand as far as embracing the choice that she made and or the child. But eventually I think I'd get there. But I know initially my response will be completely different 10 years ago than it would be today. And I say the same for every man on here, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, Johnny, real quick, I could rephrase what Ron said. Pain pursues pleasure. I think that's a smoother way to do it.
Pain pursues pleasure. I hear that. Okay.
No,
Instead of dropping a load.
You know what? I think that when you start talking about protecting Brenda's out there like that, I think you always gonna have some little fella that's always coming around sniffing up a dress. I think that the real threat is actually human trafficking. Yeah. And what I mean by that is like some guy coming along, handing her $100 bills and saying, listen, you can make this in the club because I like you. And they're going to like you more in the club. Gotcha. And to protect, that's going to be harder to protect, because when she's out and they actually demonstrating that, that's a real problem. And I think more, because you can protect her from the guys. You can threaten her. You can threaten the guy. But when it comes to that trafficking and dancing in the club, how many girls you've seen that are 16, 18, faking IDs to get in the club? And how you going to tell a girl when she's making $1,000, $1,500 at the end of the week, what you going to tell her? What are you going to say? I could buy my own clothes, I could buy my own car, I could do everything that you can do and probably better. What do you say to those girls? I think that's what a real threat is.
Brother Larry, brother Jordan, you can't tell him nothing, because guess what? You ain't their daddy. He their daddy. Yeah.
I like
listen, that's why they say call him. That's why the guys end up having the girls call him daddy. And they won't even call you daddy, they calling you by your first name. But they calling him daddy because you didn't play your role as daddy.
I hear that.
Don't let somebody take your kid from you, daddies.
Well, I want to build off LJ's point. He's right. When you're talking about competing with the individual versus the institution. And so, yeah, you can deal with some knucklehead boy. I think it would be easier to deal with the knucklehead boy who may have got her pregnant versus the institution that want to fully exploit her. So LJ, you made an awesome point with that. But I also think that when it comes to if Brenda was my daughter, or my daughter was put in that Brenda situation, I think about the first thing I have to go into is an immediate reflection. And the first thing I'm going to reflect on is am I reaping what I'm sowing, what I sowed? That's the first thing I got to think about. Because I mean, we don't think about our past actions and how God look at those actions. And so you got to understand that nothing else that grace and mercy can't protect you from is reaping and sowing. You understand? And that's the very justice of God. So where his grace and mercy may protect you from wrath and judgment, it may not protect you from reaping and sowing. And I always have to ask that and then try to pray for the wisdom it takes to really handle a situation that I'm not used to.
Yeah.
You know,
Go
I
on,
want to
that.
go on what Lightborn was saying, because
listen,
I was
hold
going
on,
to say
hold on.
that because sometimes
Red, we just want to say amen to that. Just amen. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, because I was gonna say something to that point what Lightborn was saying, because sometimes you can be a present family, a present father. You can be in your child's life and they still have that action. They still can become a Brenda.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying? And it goes back to what you said earlier, Gaspar, about some people just have to fall on their ass before they learn.
There you go.
And so you can do everything you can. It doesn't mean that you failed. It's how you handle the situation after it arises, and what you do going forward. Because a lot of times we look at times have changed with the mindset that because you have a kid at a young age, it's not the end of your life. It may be a little bit harder road, but us as fathers have to be there in order to continue to guide them. Because even look, you can have a 30-year-old making stupid decisions, right? You can't. Just like you have a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old. It doesn't matter what age. Bad decisions are bad decisions. And so it's as a father, it's just up to you to continuously guide them and hope that they continue on a wiser path after they have that first decision that they made and become that Brenda. You see what I'm saying? So, I understand looking in at yourself, but sometimes you did everything that you could because you wanted to avoid that happening a second time around, because you understood, because you may have come from a situation or you put someone in that situation.
Well, and I think this is where, one of the points that earlier I was going to say this, but that whole thing about preaching the sermon versus seeing a sermon. And a lot of times we preach a lot of things that we think that our kids don't see us doing. We preach them about do as I say, not as I do. And that's not the nature of human beings. Human beings' nature is what I see, I'm going to do. You can tell me that it's hot. You can tell me that it's hot. Yeah. But if I see you at the stove, guess what I'm gonna do? Go to the stove. Because you there. You tell me it's hot, but you there. Yeah. So I'm gonna do it. Yeah. So the idea is we have to be even more vigilant with the idea of what we talk about, what we preach, also showing in our own actions. Yeah. Showing the idea of, I don't want you to be in this kind of relationship, but we talk horribly to our partners. Gotcha. And think the child don't hear it and don't see it. Well, I want you to only be with somebody who loves you, but they never see an example of love in your household on how it should look and how it should feel and what it operates. So a big part of avoiding not only Brenda's, but Jerome's is what we do that they learn from. Well, let me say Tyrone better. Not Jerome, Tyrone. The Brenda's and the Tyrones can change based on what we put into them. And I'm not just talking talk. Talk is cheap. But we find out how good it is when people show up. Right. If you there and you this and that, it's hard. It's hard to get pregnant or get somebody pregnant when your daddy asks you, see you say you hitting them girls yet, brother? How many girls you out there hitting? And it's not in a way to glamorize it, but in a way to talk about it. Don't be nothing like me. I'm telling you. Show them them bills. We a happy family here, but we could have more if I wasn't paying for your stepbrothers. I mean, for your half brothers. Yeah. Your half brothers that I'm paying for. We could have more in our family. So if you want to be like me, hey, you can do it. But I'm gonna tell you, this is what you can wait and do. Gotcha. But again, we don't do that. We glamorize. Get as many chicks as you can. Knock them down. Knock as many down as possible. You're a real man. You're a macho. That's my studies. That's my son, the stud. Yeah. And then we tell our daughters, hey, let me put the chastity belt on you.
Keep your leg closed. All that.
Which is kind of defeats the purpose.
Hard. We push it so hard, forgetting that people want to experience, and then the mistakes happen. we have to be better. We can't just, we got to be more diversified in our raising of our children. We got to honor them, but also honor our values and our morals.
Yeah, and I think what that message does, like you were saying, Ron, it sends like a mixed message.
Mm-hmm.
Because in order for the guys to be studs, they have to conquer these women. But then we tell these women, don't be conquered. So it's kind of like a cat and mouse game that we send them on.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Listen, any kid in my house, y'all all got to come in at the same time. Girls ain't got to be in. Listen, everybody live in my house. Got to come in at the same. Listen, y'all all kids. Oh, he can't. He can't. You if the daughter got to stay in the front yard, you got to stay in the front yard. You can't go around the corner. And that's where we start that oppression.
Yeah,
you're right.
Having
and
different
also,
rules.
It also, and I want to go back to what Larry was talking about. Also Lightborn touched on. It's also you're fighting social media. You're fighting society, because let's face it, sex sells. We teach these women out. We teach our daughters and these women out here that sex sells. They watch a TV commercial, which has a girl on a hood, because that's going to attract somebody. Then we tell them, it's all about advertising. Look at restaurants, man. I'm gonna go Hooters, Twin Peaks, stuff like that. You go in there, look how they have the women dressing. You see what I'm saying?
And when you look at social media, the more you show skin, the more followers you get. So these young ladies who are on whatever TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, whatever, Snapchat, no, Rod. As much as the fatherhood program was followers, I think you might detract from that. I'm messing with you. But on the real, like you're saying, G, from as far as young ladies, when they're on social media, much like how TV and magazines back in the day portrayed women looking a certain way, so all the women wanted to look this particular way, and we used to always argue about needing more diversity in those particular areas. Social media gives you the mindset that if you ain't got a BBL dressing with some outfit that is very showing everything, those are the women that you see with 1 million followers. So now you have people traveling to go and do these things to their bodies and have these surgeries, because more followers brings you more endorsement, brings you more money from different brands, because you have more followers. So you're going to make more changes to allow that. And those things lead to the wrong people attracted to you, because now they can find you from wherever. And these girls are starting younger and younger to have these things and this exposure. So that's why it's important for us as fathers to be involved in teaching them and talking to them about how that's social media, that's not real, and how to avoid some of the pitfalls that comes when the dude slides in your DM, trying to holler at you because you look a certain way. But this is where the same dude that slid in your DM is the guy, the knucklehead that came sniffing around your chest in the neighborhood.
I'm gonna say this, because there was actually a case, right? There was a case in the news about this girl who was getting stalked because she had a lot of followers on social media, and she started getting stalked. The problem that I had with that story was they didn't tell her to get off social media. The father was in the home, the mother was in the home. This was a white family. The father's in the home, the mother's in the home. And I say the race because I think that's important. Now, rather than tell their daughter get off social media because now you have stalkers, but because she was bringing in revenue,
correct,
it was more so looking at what can be done by the police, but not to stop her from bringing in the money.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And whereas it's an exploitation by the parents on their daughter, but no one viewed it as that. They just saw a girl and saying, "Oh, she," rather than just saying get off social media, "Oh, she's being terrorized," so to speak.
Correct.
So she was a Becky, not a Brenda.
She was a
Yes,
Becky, not a
she
Brenda.
was a Becky.
Remember we said that we used the same scenario and said that Brenda mama was using her for money.
Mhm.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
But we don't see that in that situation.
You don't see it. And for me, I'm watching, I'm saying, yo, just cut off your social media. You're done with that. You don't need to get stalked. You're 13 years old.
Correct.
But for them, they're like, no, the money's good. So
she bringing in 6 figures on YouTube and social media. We gonna find a way to get around this stalker. That's 6 figures. But that's the mindset, unfortunately, today, because we're not about protecting our children. We're about how our children bringing in money. Let's protect the money. So again, at the end of the day, as fathers, we got to do what it is to protect our families, protect our Brendas and our Beckys, our Eve, and we're not talking about it, but protect our Toms and Tyrones as well, because they're also, subject to these things that happen. We just need to be able to talk to them more outwardly as men.
I would just say one more thing, not protect them, but discipline them on how to be a Tyrone and a Tom.
Okay.
That's probably not a good one.
I know what you mean.
But discipline, and what I mean by disciplining them, we wouldn't have to worry about Tyrone coming to our house and worry about what they was going to do if they had been disciplined to know about healthy relationships.
Gotcha.
And what it means to have a healthy relationship. The first thing they shouldn't be thinking about is how big her breast is, how firm her booty is, and can he get his finger wet. Those are not the things he should be thinking of. He'd be thinking about more of, is she someone that I have something in common with? Do I have things to talk to about? Do I respect her as a human being, as a girl first, not as an object? And so when we start teaching our boys that, it'll make our job for our girls a lot more easy.
And I agree with you, Rob. But the fact is, he's 16 to 18, as Rohan eloquently told us, he's a stat man. Between 16 and 24 is when our hormones are going. So as much as we are teaching him mentally, and that's the key part, we got to share in that. We know that we're fighting the battle of hormones and that aspect of it. So it's something that we have to be able to balance in our conversation and teaching him. Yeah, I know she looking fine, young brother, and I see why you find her attractive. But dad is saying X. So I get where you're coming from, Ron, with that. But we also, as parents and fathers, for both our boys and our girls, as long as we understand we are dealing with nature in reference to where they're physically going to desire, and we're able to talk to them intelligently and explain the whys. Because a lot of our kids sometimes want to ask why, and we say why because I say so, and that leads them to wanting to still make choices. Right. So we're able to explain the why to counter the naturalness of their desires. I think it helps them in making smarter decisions as well.
Absolutely.
With this day and age, also you have to, because I agree. 16, the hormones are flaring, but we have to teach the girls also not to be an aggressor, because society now is teaching girls to go after the men, not to sit back and wait for the man to approach you and to do what he needs to do. So we have to also, as fathers, combat that too. Be like, no, the right man's going to come to you. You don't have to go chase the man. Look at it in the news the other day. This woman followed her boyfriend out to the club, saw him walk out with another woman, so she ran him over with the car 4 times. Damn. You see,
that had nothing to do with her chasing him. She just was mental. That level of
it's chasing.
Well, no, that level of aggression is more of a mental thing.
Control and power.
That she has had to either endure something, gone through something to get to that level. But I do agree with you.
Hold on. What you say that she had to endure? No, Rohan, what it is again?
Control and power.
Power and control.
Yeah. So what happens what happens in the situation is who knows? I don't know in their relationship. He could have been lying to her, saying, "I love you, baby. I'll never be with no one else," and everything. And the way the relationship was supposed to go is not how it's going. You see what I'm saying? So she felt lied to. She felt whatever she felt when she saw it turned to anger and rage. So she drove him over. Now, if we teach our daughters that, that's just because, I understand there's an emotional charge behind this, but allow yourself to let him go because he's not good for you. And she can encompass that. I think it would be a different reaction than running him over. I mean, I'm not saying she probably would have got out of her car and still smacked him and yelled at him and everything, but it wouldn't have got to that level where now her children have no mom. And she's, you see what I'm saying?
To bring a little correction to that story, she put some type of airdrop on him. So that's just basically some kind of tracer, some new Apple app that will trace the car.
Yeah.
She found the guy at a restaurant with the girl. She had more opportunities. So at this particular point, it became premeditated because it was so planned out so far in advance that after she ran him over 4 times, she still got out the car and still wanted to attack the girl, in which the restaurant owner stopped her until the police came. And when the police came up, she was still in the process of trying to attack the girl.
Wow.
I'll add this to all fathers out in the world, to everyone who will visit this Fatherhood Talks and will get knowledge. I'll say 3 simple things. You got to get to know the person before you start a relationship. You need to know someone when they're angry, not when they're in love, when they're angry, how they control their emotions. And 3, God has control and power. I know some people may not believe that, but he really has the control and power. No human being on this earth has that.
Amen.
Wow. All right. So hey, man, this was a powerful conversation tonight. Who knew that Brenda's Got a Baby would take us to some of the conversations we had tonight is powerful. And I would say to people out there, if you're watching and if you watch this in the rerun, if you want to, be in tune and watch this live, all you have to do is, hit the subscribe button, be able to, and then once you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell at the top to give you the reminder when we come. We're going to be going live and having our show. But if you don't, you just remember it's every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. But again, if you just watch, you can watch anytime you want. So that share it with your friends and somebody you might know might want to hear this message. And the biggest part is if you know there's a father who really needs to have this kind of conversation, he needs to be with a group of fathers and different fathers that come to our Wednesday night group. Just look in the chat. You'll see when you're looking at the video, look down and all the information on how to get to our Wednesday night fathers only meeting to have conversations. The topic for that night will be there when you look down there down in the comments. And we welcome you to welcome a father or welcome yourself to join us on Wednesday night for Fatherhood Talks, Father Edition. Only fathers only. Let me say fathers only. Because sometimes people might come and sneak in and listen. If it's like that lady, she might put the airdrop and the dad might come in there. She might come in under got a name or something else and then listen to what he's saying. He said, I was dating these 2 chicks. Next thing you know, we hear some pow in the background and we in trouble. So just for the fathers only. So I'll be checking. I'll just be checking. Hey, listen, you Johnny, you thinking I'm being exaggerating.
No.
But listen,
I believe you.
That stuff happen, man. Yeah. We have people that be on. We have fathers who have in our old days when mothers would come to a group.
Yeah.
And sometimes that would be problematic sometimes because he'll say something and that leads to them not having a good evening after leaving group. And we never want to start problems. We're trying to help you eliminate some of your problems in your relationships. And so it's a powerful place. So again, thanks everybody for joining. Fathers, I want to thank you all for coming on and sharing with people tonight. And we'll see you all here again next week at Fatherhood Talks. Father, repeat after me. I am.
I am.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of honor.
I say, I am.
I am.
I am.
I
I
am.
am.
I am a man of courage.
I
I
am.
am a
I
man
am a
of
man of
courage.
courage.
I am.
I
I
am.
am.
I am.
I am.
am.
I am a man of respect.
I am a man of respect.
And I say, fathers, I am.
I am.
Yeah.
I say that you are.
You
We
are.
are.
I say that we are
We are
Are.
championship
Championship
fathers.
championship fathers.
Yes, sir.
Woo! Good
See us
night,
flexing
brothers.
our muscles. It's
All right.
not because we macho. It's because we want to lift our children up on our arms.
Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
All right.
Yes, sir.
You
Yeah, have a
gotta
blessed
say,
evening.
you gotta get those kind of
Disclaimers.
disclaimers, because somebody say, look at them, they macho, they think they macho. No, it's not about being a macho man. It's about our children are on our arms and we holding them up.
That's
And we
right.
got you, our woman, right on the back. So we ain't leaving you out.
All right, man. Y'all have a good night, gentlemen.
All right,
All right.
good night.
Guys, have
See
a good one.
everybody.